The XGIMI Horizon S Max comes loaded with specs and design that looks fit for the nicest of homes, and it even has a motorized cover to protect the lens when you aren't using it. It looks like something that Apple would have designed. But in this video, we're gonna find out, does this projector actually live up to its great design? And would it be a good fit for your smart home? A lot of the reviews tend to understandably focus on all the detail of the picture quality, and we'll touch on that here, but the bigger question for me is, how does this projector fit into the rest of my home setup or your home setup, and how likely am I to use this for a night of unwinding in front of my favorite show? If you're new here, I'm Eric Welander, and I've been building out my smart home here on YouTube since 2018, mostly on top of Apple platforms. So if you're into smart home tech or Apple, consider subscribing for free. And XGIMI did send me this projector for free, but this video is not sponsored, and they did not get to see it before I published it. In the box, you get the projector, of course, as well as the remote, and the absolute biggest power brick I have ever seen in my life. Like, seriously, I don't know what on earth makes it need to be this big. I also think because it's so big, XGIMI could have made the cable on either end a little bit longer just to give some more flexibility in hooking it up to power depending on where you're mounting it, but we'll get more on the flexibility stuff later on. The projector does also come with this really cool built-in stand. You can swing the projector up and down to get the desired angle, and the base station has a hidden circular mount with rubber feet so you can turn the projector side to side. At the center of that circular base station is something that will be important to my setup, at least at first, which is the 1/4-20 tripod mount. This means that you can mount this projector on basically any tripod, and I think pretty much any ceiling mount. This was really helpful for me because I already have a ceiling mount installed in my basement that I wanted to use for this projector. But that gets me to a big downside of this projector for my setup, which is that it only has one HDMI port. This means if, like me, you want to use HDMI eARC as a way to get audio to your soundbar, like my Sonos Arc Ultra, then you're gonna be using that one HDMI port and you're stuck using the built-in Android TV for streaming video to the projector. Now, depending on your needs, maybe that works great, but we'll talk more about those details in just a minute. If you're adding this to your home theater setup though, you might also have some kind of receiver that you're connecting it to, which could take care of multiple HDMI inputs and audio and all kinds of other details. So in that scenario as well, one HDMI port might be exactly what you want. Now, once it was installed in my ceiling, setting up the software side was pretty straightforward. And it does have a really cool auto keystone correction, which we'll get to a little bit later. I was really impressed with that, but I found for projecting it onto my screen on the wall, I did need to manually adjust the picture to get it to line up. During setup, you can choose between the triple laser projection mode or XGIMI's Dual Light 2.0 mode. I really like the look of XGIMI's Dual Light 2.0 technology, and for me, I prefer that. XGIMI claims though that this Dual Light technology gives this projector a 1,000,000 to 1 contrast ratio and 3100 ISO lumens. Other more picture quality oriented reviewers have taken issue with those specs being maybe not 100% accurate, but either way, no matter how you slice it, the picture quality is very impressive. And I did see a noticeable jump in brightness compared to other projectors I've played with recently. So after setting up the projector, getting it aligned with my screen, and picking the dual light projection mode, I went to search for apps to install on Android TV, like Disney+, YouTube TV, YouTube, and Netflix. And when you search for Netflix on the Play Store on this device, it's like, well, how about these other apps? But I just want Netflix. Give me Netflix. But then I realized that my iPhone and iPad, of course, have Netflix with a Chromecast button on it. Couldn't I just use the Chromecast button on my Netflix app to project it to the projector? Well, no. It seems like something with the Netflix app requires that the host for Chromecast also has the Netflix app installed, or for whatever reason, that whole option doesn't work for this projector either. Now, you also might be thinking, well, what about AirPlay? Wouldn't that be an option? But no, not on this Android TV. It doesn't have that feature. So given that this is an Android TV and with it running Android, there's apparently ways you can sideload the Netflix app, but that was a bridge too far for me and just more fuss than I wanted to deal with or had time for. So with my one HDMI port filled and no Netflix built into the TV software, I needed to really rethink, who is this device for? It does have dual 12-watt speakers, and I heard these during setup and I was impressed. And the built-in stand that we talked about earlier is really nice. Then thinking more, I started to realize that this projector is better as something maybe you set up temporarily in different parts of your house. And then you just kind of use it as a self-contained unit. You could connect your iPad or your iPhone with a USB-C to HDMI cable and just use the built-in speakers. Then it becomes a fun movie setup where you want it. It's also 4K, which could, depending on the circumstances, be better than a lot of the more common 1080p portable projectors you might be comparing it to for this kind of setup. Then I also remembered another feature of the Horizon S Max is that it has wall color adaptation. If you're projecting an image onto a wall instead of a projector screen or projector paint, there is a very good chance that the wall is not pure white. Even if it's white, you're probably using an antique white or beige or something that has a little bit of blue or yellow hue in it. And that's where color adaptation can read the color of your wall and adapt the color of the projected image so it looks correct on the surface. This feature isn't exclusive to the Horizon S Max or really even XGIMI, but it works really, really well here. I was very impressed with the combination of the wall color adaptation along with the autofocus and auto keystone correction. You can fling the projector around almost anywhere and it just figures out what the image should look like. It's pretty cool. But the projector is much bigger and more expensive than many of XGIMI's smaller portable projectors. So if being portable is really the priority here, you might also want to consider other options. But something like the Horizon S Max has the horsepower to double as maybe a decent home theater projector when it's mounted to the ceiling. But this gets to the real software flaw that I think is really letting this projector down. Now, Google TV and Android TV are different operating systems. On a Google TV, you can turn on a setting to resume the last or active HDMI input when the TV or projector turns on. This means if you're powering on your Apple TV or game console and HDMI CEC does its thing, the projector turns straight on to that device. You never see Google TV's home screen. With the XGIMI Horizon S Max and the projector set to Android TV, every time you turn on your Android TV, it has to show that home screen. It doesn't have a setting like this to resume the last HDMI input. One other downside of the Horizon S Max is that it doesn't have optical zoom. This means if you're mounting it on a ceiling, it needs the exact right distance from the screen to not have to crop the image a little bit to fit on your screen. In a portable setup, that's probably fine because you can easily move the projector to be exactly where you want it to get it to be the right size on the wall. But if you're mounting this projector into a ceiling, it might not be that flexible. And so you might either have to do some really exact planning before you hang it up front, or just live with that the image is going to be a little bit shaped differently than the native shaping of the thing coming off the lens. I hope I'm saying that right. In the beginning of this review, I talked about how I was seduced by the really cool motorized cover and just the great design and great picture quality specs that other reviews raved about that I was really impressed by when I first set up the projector. And the XGIMI Horizon S Max has so much potential, but the software is continually letting down the amazing hardware. If this had Apple AirPlay, Google TV OS, and Netflix. It would be a phenomenal projector, albeit a little bit still less conventional with only one HDMI port, but alas, we're stuck with a weird implementation of Android TV that doesn't give me the functionality that I want and no easy way to just make it a display of whatever content I want from somewhere else. But change my mind in the comments. Is there something I'm missing here about this projector that makes you so excited? And if you're looking for a projector that I'm more excited about, check out this video here. Thanks again so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.